Hi guys, my name is Byrd and today I am here to share with you the 10 things that I wish I knew as a new sewist when I started sewing 3 years ago. Yep, it has only been 3 years, guys. I am a curvy sewist and I love to sew everything from swimwear to line coats, dresses. Dresses are my thing because when you sew a dress, you have an entire garment that you can immediately wear and go somewhere. I love to do loungewear, pants, jeans, leather pants, leather bombers, you name it. I love it. In 3 years, it's been an amazing and incredible experience. So let me tell you and share with you guys the things that I wish that I knew, honestly, 3 years ago when I got started. First off, if you are new to sewing, congratulations and welcome to the community. It is an amazing community. It is an amazing experience and journey. So let me share with you guys. Well, first, before I share with you my top 10 things that I wish I knew before I got into sewing, let me tell you how I got into sewing. So I spent several decades as a federal executive, as far away as you can get from the creative world, just very, very far away. I never ever imagined that I would have gotten into sewing. COVID hit, y'all, a couple years ago. Everything came to a standstill. There were really no more Netflix series, nothing being made. So after a while, there was really nothing to watch on TV. And it just became day in, day out, watching the clock, eating, blah, 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 blah. So I decided it's a great time. Maybe I have some things in my closet that I need to mend. I need to shorten. I need to hem. And so I decided to purchase my very first sewing machine. I purchased it from Amazon. And by the way, I will drop the link to my Amazon store and you can look at everything there that we're going to talk about today. So I purchased my first sewing machine. It's a beginner brother. It wasn't electronic. It didn't have this big old display or anything like that. I crank the wheel. It is perfect just as it is. And it was perfect for me. So once I got it, the most important thing to do is when you get a new sewing machine, please don't put it off in a corner. Don't put it in a closet. Unbox it. As terrifying as that may seem, at least take it out of the box and put it on the table. You may not have a dedicated sewing space. You can use a folding table, your dining room table. At that time, I wasn't doing a lot with work, so I scooted things off my work table in my office there, and I put my sewing machine right there. The sewing machine, honestly, I couldn't follow the manual. I could not follow the manual. Thank God for YouTube University. I was able to find a few other sewists who owned the same machine, and I figured out how to thread the sewing machine, how the bobbin goes in. And then I started the process of just on scrap fabric, trying to sew straight lines and learning not to look at the needle bobbing up and down, but looking at the gauge on where the sewing machine is headed. So I started there. And then I said to myself, well, I started initially, guys, right? Because I thought I would mend some things and do some hemming. What happened was I needed some new pajamas. So I took out some pajamas of mine. I ran to a local store, Joann's. There's not a whole lot of stores here in the Baltimore, Maryland area. I ran to Joann's. I got some inexpensive, it was the winter time, so I got some inexpensive flannel. I laid out my pajamas and I literally cut around the pattern, around the pieces, right? The leg. And I cut extra wide because I'm thinking, I want to make sure that they fit. Y'all, they did. They sort of fit. They were kind of funny. I had a big drop crotch, and I guess I could say that was part of the creative piece, but honestly, it wasn't what I intended. They were super big and baggy. The pockets were like way back there. It was so weird. But let me tell you, I still have them and I still wear them. So from that point, I started making pajamas for everyone in the house. My son got a pair, my daughter got a pair. I actually think I posted many of them. My husband got a couple pair. He still wears his. My daughter still wears hers. My son wore his out until they are no longer of any use. I made him black flannel. He ended up wearing them to the store, all over the place. So it was a journey. But let me share with you what I wish that I knew when I started sewing 3 years ago. All right, so I have 10 tips that I've kind of jotted down to make sure that I cover them all. The first thing is that I recommend that you start off with a beginner sewing machine. Don't go out, my recommendation, and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a sewing machine or thousands of dollars on a sewing machine. I would recommend that you spend somewhere in the neighborhood of between $100 and $200 on your beginner sewing machine. I also encourage you to check out Facebook Marketplace, Goodwill online, check with your family and friends. Check with your neighbors. You would be surprised at how many people have sewing machines in their homes that are dusty or stuck in a closet, storage area that they never use, and they would be happy to offload them to you. So feel free to look for first, free is my middle name. So look for free first, and then see what you might be able to get from family members and neighbors and things like that for maybe low cost, and also Facebook Marketplace and other places like that. But then there are a number of other places that you can buy inexpensive sewing machines. Don't get a fancy one. You can, if your money runs that way, feel comfortable getting a fancy one. For me, it's COVID. Many of us are home. We're not working. I wanted something inexpensive. I went with a sewing machine that was around $99 at that time. I think right now they retail for about $150, the same beginner sewing machine. My sewing machine had about 20 stitches on it. Don't let the number of stitches fool you, because the current sewing machine that I have, which I love, and I didn't get it until I was into this thing for about 1.5 years, and I knew this is real and I was ready for the next step. My sewing machine has about 200 stitches, and I use on a regular basis probably about 5. As a beginner, I used 2. Straight stitch, zigzag stitch. And of course, you're going to do some back stitching, right? But straight and zigzag. Those other 18 stitches that was on my beginner sewing machine, I really didn't use. So don't let the stitches fool you. Go with the beginner friendly, inexpensive machine to get used to your new sewing journey and hobby. The next thing that and that was actually 1 and 2. I wanted to talk about the sewing machine. I wanted to talk about not allowing the stitches to fool you. So you already got the first 2 of my tips. The third one is fabric. Y'all, fabric is expensive. And I already told you that saving money is my middle name. And I don't want to spend a whole lot of money on fabric. You can go to some stores and spend anywhere from $2 a yard for fabric to $200 or more dollars a yard of fabric. I started with my local fabric store here, Joann's, just about 10 minutes away from me. And I purchased, like I said, the inexpensive flannel material, cotton material, those kinds of things to kind of practice on. And they started around maybe like $2.99 a yard. I would wait until Joann's had a sale. Wait for the sales. They will come. Wait for the sales. So start with very inexpensive fabric. The other thing, if you haven't checked out yet my thrifting videos, another way to get fabric to begin your process, your journey, is look around your home. You may have old shirts you don't use, blankets, sheets, pillowcases. All of those things are fabric, textile, and pieces of fabric to begin your journey and to practice on. So don't spend a lot of money. And if you are going to go into the fabric store, when you first walk in, you're going to see all of the it's like the flashing lights. Go to the back where they keep the clearance items, and that's the best place to start. Seam ripper, number 4. Get yourself a couple seam rippers, different sizes. Let me show you. So this is one that I really love. It has a little nub on the end, and this little nub on the end is basically rubber, and it's like an eraser. So when you have to use your seam ripper, this helps you to get some of those threads out of the seam. But I also have several others that I keep handy that I really love. These seam rippers will actually dull over time. So probably about every year, I will throw them all out. And I mean, maybe they can be sharpened, I don't know, but they're so inexpensive. And you can buy usually, 4 or 5 of them at one for a low cost. Again, I'll drop the link for that. But you're going to need these. These are my nemesis. I'm not kidding you. I get so frustrated sometimes when I have to pull out the seam ripper. But regardless of whether you have been sewing for 2 days or 2 decades, you're going to need to use a seam ripper. It is just par for the course. Don't get frustrated. Put on some music. I like to listen to a book, or maybe I'll go to YouTube and I'll watch something on YouTube or on TV. It's a great time while I'm slowly beginning to do my seam ripping and doing it in a safe way. So just get comfortable with the seam ripper and don't become frustrated if you make mistakes. You are going to make mistakes. Number 5, support. I had no idea when I came into the sewing world that there was such a huge, diverse community of creatives and sewists on all of the social media platforms, from Threads, TikTok, YouTube right here, Instagram, Facebook. Find a couple sewing groups to join. They're free. You can just search for sewing groups. If the community isn't one that you really love or vibe with, leave it. Find other. I am actually a member of quite a few different sewing groups, and I get different things from each and every one of them. You can get into sewing groups for your particular sewing machine, so you can ask questions and those kinds of things. But the sewing community is incredibly supportive and helpful. And if you ever have any questions, don't feel very comfortable dropping a comment, or if you want to send me a direct message, you can find me on all of the social media sites, and I would be happy to answer any question. If I know the answer, I've been in this for 3 years. I don't know all of the answers. I'm only sharing with you the things that I wish that I knew, and I'm very happy to share those with you. So huge wealth of information out there, and find your community. So the other thing, number 6, sew in short bursts. Learning anything new can be challenging, fun, and also frustrating, especially if you're trying to figure out how to thread your machine or how to sew a straight line or whatever you may be working on. Even if I'm working on welt pockets now, or zippers or line coats, I still get to portions of my sewing on any given day where I get maybe a little flustered or frustrated. Sew in short bursts, whether that's for 30 minutes, for an hour, a couple hours, take a break, go for a walk. Sewing is a very sedentary activity. I recommend that you get up and you move around. I don't keep my iron close to me, so it forces me to get up when I need to iron a seam, to press a seam, to get up from my sewing machine and walk over to my iron. When I first got started, I had my iron kind of in my kitchen and my sewing machine was in my office. So I had to walk to the kitchen. So get up, move about, but sewing in spurts so that it remains fresh and fun and that you minimize the frustration. All right, guys, we're on number 6, patterns. Patterns can be expensive. They don't have to be. Look for the circulars that come out that are delivered to your home or online, and you'll be able to find all of the commercial patterns, usually between $2 and maybe $5. And those sales go on probably maybe once or twice a month. Just keep your eye open for them. Speaking of commercial patterns, there are 5 parts of the commercial patterns that you will find. Hobby Lobby, Joann Fabrics, Michaels, and a whole bunch of other places online, including simplicity.com, where they go on sale there as well, and you can get a PDF or an actual physical pattern mailed to you. So the 5 big pattern companies that are part of that umbrella, you have Simplicity, of course, you have McCall's, you have Butterick, you have Nomi, and you have Vogue. Each of those kind of speak to a different demographic, and you find what speaks to you. For me, guys, I don't fall into any. I like them all. I mix and match, and I do whatever speaks to me. My style is very eclectic. It can be very classic, but then it can be very fun and funky, very streetwise, street vibe as well. So you find what works for you. And then there are a number of what people call indie patterns, so independent pattern makers. These are designers like you or myself or a number of other pattern designers that without a major corporation or company, they have created a pattern in their home. They've done hopefully some testing on it, and it is available for sale as well. So you have the commercial and you have the independent patterns. But the message here really is, in the beginning, look for the sales and look for beginner friendly patterns. The pattern should tell you on the pattern envelope whether it is beginner friendly. And let me grab an envelope for you. So this is a Know Me pattern envelope. And on the commercial patterns, you're going to get a QR code. If you go to use this QR code, you're probably going to get a sew along that's going to be helpful. That's really helpful for not just beginners, but anyone. If you get to a part of the pattern that you're like, oh, what am I doing here? Use the QR code and take advantage of the sew alongs that are available. On the back of the pattern envelope, there's a number of different things that are here. It's going to tell you the type of fabrics that you should use, what's recommended. This is very important, especially as a beginner, and I wish that I knew more about this then. Look for those particular fabrics for a particular pattern. If you use the wrong fabric for a particular pattern, the results may not necessarily be what you were working toward. So pay attention to the suggested fabrics. There are notions. So if you need a zipper or buttons or snaps, that'll be here as well. Then you have body measurements. And this is something that is really, really, I'm looking around because I'm looking for a tape measure. I have several of them and you're going to want to have many around. Using a tape measure, you want to make sure that you are measuring your body parts. Usually I like to do it in a regular bra. Yes, a regular bra, not with a t-shirt or shirt on, and underwear. Because if you take your pattern, your size measurements with like what I have on this half sweatshirt, which by the way is a free pattern from Mood. You can find some free patterns out there. You just Google free patterns and you'd be surprised there are a ton. And this was a freebie from them. And you want to do this with, honestly, your underwear on, and you don't want it slack. You don't want to pull it in tight. It's just laying against the body. And then you take your measurements. Be honest with your measurements. Don't let your measurements scare you, intimidate you, or make you feel bad. Feel comfortable in your skin. I am curvy, and it took me a little while to feel comfortable that when I measure, say my hips, and my hips are right now, I still have my winter protection. And so, you know, my hips right now are probably about 49, 48 inches. They are what they are. I am going to make sure that I'm cutting out the pattern pieces that fit my particular size and not something that I wish in my head. You know, yeah, sure. Did I wish that these were like maybe 40 instead of 49? Sure, but they're not. They're 49 inches, and I want to make sure that I choose the pattern size based on my actual measurements. The other thing that's really important I wanted to share with you guys on the envelope, in many cases you will find finished garment measurements. You want to compare the two. So what's a finished garment measurement? So effectively, it is the size of the garment at the bust, the waist, and the hips with ease built in. And ease just means the wear. So if you need additional space, inches, because it's going to be more of a loose fit, you're going to find that the finished garment measurements are larger than your actual size. If it's something like my shirt where there's a negative ease, I'm going to find that the finished measurements are going to be smaller than my actual size. And all of that is perfectly fine. Those are things that will come with time. But the most important thing that I wanted to share and leave with you guys is when you're shopping for patterns, try to look for free patterns and also to try to look for patterns that are on sale. Number 8, trust the process. I say this all the time. When I am looking at the instructions of a pattern and I'm going through the instructions and it's telling me to put this piece to that piece, in my head, I'm keeping it real. It doesn't make sense. It makes more sense now, 3 years in, but in the beginning, like putting together the pajama pants, I was like, put the right leg in, the right of the fabric to the other right side of the, what are we doing here? It made no sense at all, none at all. And then the rise, I was like, what are we doing here? Trust the process. Don't think through it a whole lot. Just trust the process. Make sure that you are transferring all of your markings, your notches on your garments, because those are going to help you piece it all together. And it truly is, to me, like piecing together a puzzle. It is really like that. But trust the process and it will all come together. And then I'm down to now number 9, and then I have one more and number 10. And these actually all flow in together. Celebrate your wins. Celebrate your wins. So wear what you make. Even sometimes, like my pajamas, where I had the drop crotch, they were a little bit too big. That did not stop me from taking pictures and sharing with my friends, like, y'all, look what I made. Share your wins. Share your makes with people who are supportive. If you're comfortable, please share them on social media as well. We love to support, especially beginners. We love to support everybody, you know, from beginners all the way to very advanced, long-time sewers. But take a moment when you put something together and you love the way that it comes together, whatever that might be, take a moment to enjoy it, celebrate it, wear it, feel good about it. And don't let perfect get in the way of pretty darn good. So sometimes we're like, oh man, I wish that I had done this way. And we get kind of bummed out about that. But at the end of the day, you as a sewist, you're the closest to what you have created. And you may notice the imperfection and flaws, but 99.9% of the people out there are not going to notice any of those things. Don't let perfection get in the way of pretty darn good. You are amazing. You're in this space. You deserve to be in this space. So have fun with it. And then the final recommendation that I have, that I wish that I knew as a beginner sewist, is have fun. Whatever you do, have fun with it. This is a hobby, guys. This is a hobby. So have fun with it. Find humor in whatever you're doing. I have made some of the most ridiculous mistakes. Ridiculous mistakes. I've sewn, and I've heard other sewists say this too, I've sewn sleeves to the neck. I literally did something like this like 2 days ago. And I'm like, oh my God, you have to I just step away at that point and I go tell my husband or my daughter, I'm like, can you believe what I just did? Oh my gosh. And so I try to laugh at the things that I do. Even when I look back at the things that I started with in the very beginning, I have to laugh. Last year, so not that long ago, I made pajamas for the entire family and I used a pattern. Honestly, I wish that I had just traced them because my son lives in LA, so he wasn't here. When I was making the pattern, I couldn't do any fitting. He could barely get in them, right? And I used the size chart, but it did not necessarily work. He put them on and we boohooed. We laughed. Not cried. It wasn't boohoo in that sense. It was we cried. We laughed until we cried. It was so funny. So funny. So funny. So funny. And then I didn't get rid of the pants because they were really nicely made. What I did was I have a nephew who, my son and my nephew are both about the same size, but my nephew is younger and a little bit shorter. And so I hemmed the pants for him and put some little funky things on the side. I added like some canvas and made them a little bit younger, not canvas, but those big canvas pockets on the side. Patch pockets on the side, and he loves them. So, you know, even some of my mistakes, I just laugh at them and I just keep it moving, guys. Don't take myself too seriously. So those are really the 10 things that I would like to share with you guys about my journey and the things that I really wish that I knew 3 years ago. For newbies that are out there, welcome, 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 welcome to the community. It is so much fun. I cannot wait to see what you make, what you create. Remember, it's a journey. It is not something you're going to start today and it's just going to all come together. Take it in bits and pieces and have fun. Feel free to check out any of the other things that I've shared here on YouTube. As I've shared before, you can find me on all of the social media sites. I'm on Instagram, Yoga Bird Sews. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Threads. And I do live sew-alongs on TikTok as well. many beginner-friendly sew-alongs, and I also do sew-alongs here on YouTube. If there are things that you would love to see, just drop it in the comments. And again, I thank you guys so much. You guys have a good day, and happy sewing, good people. Bye-bye for now.